Hello and welcome. My name is 𝐲𝐻𝐸𝐸 and I'm here to share success stories of women from all around the globe to inspire and to encourage millions of women to write their own success story. Today, I'm here with Ruta Stasiunaite. Ruta is transformational mindset and relationship mentor, coach. And I'm really excited to find out more about her passion. So a very warm welcome to you, Ruta.
Thank you so much, Anita. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you for being my guest. I find your topic really, really inspiring and so important. Actually, what you do is life-changing. Would you tell more? What is transformational mindset and relationship coaching?
It is life-changing, so incredibly important. What it is that I do, transformational mindset coaching in general, it's understanding why you think the way you think, why you behave the way you behave, and why you believe what you believe. And when you understand that and you start basically raising your awareness of why you're choosing to live the way you live, why are you making certain decisions the way you're making them, then you open a completely new door to a completely new life. And so many people on this planet live in a very scarce lifestyle way where there's not much abundance when it comes to relationships, when it comes to love, when it comes to financial abundance, when it comes to lifestyle choices. And so with transformational coaching, I help people to understand that they actually have a choice to live life differently, and they're much closer to their dream life than they thought they were.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, that sounds amazing. What's your story? How have you become passionate about this topic?
My story started with living abroad. So I originally come from Lithuania, and I started living, basically I went abroad for studies, and I lived in Vienna, I lived in Berlin, I lived in the Netherlands, I lived in Brussels, I went back to Berlin, and now I live in Portugal. And this entire journey has been amazing in so many ways, because I was in different cultures. I was in long-term relationship. I was working in the corporate world for a while, and I was basically doing the typical things of what I thought I was supposed to do, what my family was expected of me. And at some point I realized that I was actually not living the way I wanted to live, even though I did follow my heart's desires to live in different places, to expose myself to different cultures, to different people, different nationalities, and so on. But somehow deep down, I knew that there's something beyond working for somebody else or being in this very typical relationship when it comes to like, oh, you know, it's transactional, it's conditional, it's transactional, it's convenient. And at some point, basically 5 years ago, actually, today is which day? 7th of February, 2023. Exactly 5 years ago, I hired my very first coach. Exactly 5 years ago, I reached out to someone who became my very first coach. I had, I think, 20 coaching sessions to begin with this person, and it changed my life completely. And ever since that time, I have been working with various coaches and mentors, and have been part of many different programs, personal development, business development programs, and I have never looked back. And I have become so much more in tune with who I am, with what I love doing, with my passions, with, you know, people. I surrounded myself with a completely different caliber people. I live in freaking Portugal in front of the ocean. And I mean, seriously, life is just amazing when you choose to see it that way. So that's my story.
Oh my God, this is so inspiring. Goosebumps. I've never looked back. Well, that's the dream.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
amazing. I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you. And the thing is that I'm not any different than anyone who is listening to this conversation. I'm no different. And I came from a family that didn't have much growing up. I came from a family that, again, it was very transactional relationships and very traditional and Catholic, and no sex before getting married, and then once you get married you have kids, like all the typical steps in life and so on. And I thought that I needed to do exactly the same because that's what society expects of you. And yet anybody can change their lives according to what they desire. And just to put it out there, I'm no different. I am exactly like everyone else. And the women who are listening to this conversation, if you have something that you absolutely love doing, go for it, do it. You will learn along the way. Like I say, jump off the cliffs and you will learn how to fly.
Yeah. It's really, the power is in you, right? You can have a lot of supporters, cheerleaders, you can have everything, but it's really you who creates your destiny, who decides to take action.
Exactly. You need to take responsibility for your own choices. Nobody else is going to do it for you. And that's the pandemic that I see in the world, because people expect other people to make them happy. Like, oh, I will reach this goal and then I will be happy. I will marry this man and they are going to make me happy. That doesn't work that way at all. You need to take radical responsibility for how you feel. Now, that also, of course, requires some inner work, some introspection, and it's the way it is. Like, it's not going to fall out of the sky, but that's the way it works.
Yeah, true. Wise words. So we have one common topic, redefining success. This is also the name of your website and your podcast. How do you personally redefine yourself, redefine success? Yeah.
Oh, that's a great question. The reason why I chose this title for my brand, for my website, for my channels, for YouTube channel, for everything that I do basically, is because I saw how the vast majority of people are living exactly what I just described before you asked the question, where people are chasing shiny objects, people are chasing possessions, people are chasing titles, status, so many different things. And yet, the true success is in finding fulfillment and happiness within yourself first and foremost, and then creating your external life according to how you feel within. And think about it this way: what kind of success is it when you have all the gazillion of things and you ticked all the boxes? You have a mansion, you have amazing cars, you have kids, you have this, you have that, but internally you feel miserable. Internally you feel unfulfilled. Internally you feel like you're living a lie. Internally you feel like you're completely lost and stuck and you have no idea who you are. And maybe you're even depressed, maybe you have anxiety problems, like so many different things are going on internally where there's no peace, there's no harmony, there's just misery. What kind of success is that then? So when it comes to redefining success, for me, success is harmony. For me, success is living life on your terms, making sure that what you do on a daily basis is in alignment with your higher self, with your deeper self, with your true self. And every single decision, every single day is in alignment with who you truly are.
Yeah, beautiful. It takes work. It takes self-reflection, but it's so worth it. Otherwise, the less you are yourself, the more you keep searching, keep looking, and wherever you go, you keep encountering the same obstacles, the same problems, just the same, until you actually face it and start working on it.
Absolutely. And great that you say that, because that's exactly what happened when I lived in all these countries. I mean, this is my 6th country I live in right now. And every single time I was moving from place to place, until I finally really addressed my deeper issues, my deeper belief system, until then, I always thought, oh, in this new place, I will find happiness and fulfillment. Oh, in this place, I will find myself. And yet, every single time I realized or not, I packed all of my issues into my suitcase. I mean, that's the way it goes. Unless you turn inward and really address what's really going on within yourself, you're not going to avoid it. It's impossible. You can't avoid it until you finally address it, until you finally seek for help, actually. And that is something that, in fact, so many people are afraid to ask for help. And they're so independent and self-reliant and self-sufficient. And basically, they feel uncomfortable to ask for help. And they feel like, oh, I can't be vulnerable. I can't ask for help. I'm so independent. I'm so free. No, you need to ask for help, because that's the only way to actually live a full life. Why? Because we are meant to live in collaboration. It's not, we are not meant to fight against. It's not a competition. We need to bring ourselves closer to other people through vulnerability, through acceptance that, yeah, I'm not perfect. And perhaps nobody is. And not perhaps, actually, nobody is perfect. And that's the beauty of being alive, really, to accept ourselves and to love ourselves so that we can accept and love other people as well.
True, and it shows strength to ask for help. Actually, everyone is an expert at something. You can't be an expert at everything. And if you turn to an expert in that field that you want to develop or grow, it really helps you to get much more quicker there where you want to get, or grow much faster. It's much easier. We can't solve everything ourselves.
I would even say that it's not only that it is faster, but some things cannot be resolved on your own. It is impossible. Why? Because so often there are some things in the shadow that we can't see. And when somebody comes to help us and they're like, do you notice that that's what you're doing on all the time? Do you notice that this might be a pattern that you have? Because oftentimes we don't see what's actually going on. I heard this analogy somewhere that we don't see when we ride a bicycle, because we just ride a bicycle. We sit on the bicycle. So only people who are, looking at us see us riding a bicycle. We don't see it. So it's exactly the same. We must work with other people. And it doesn't mean that you need to hire a coach or hire a mentor or anything like that. It can also just be find peers who are on the same journey. Maybe join some groups. There are I actually, in the past, when I lived in Berlin, I was co-organizing free events, meetups that was about purpose, finding your purpose. And we were gathering dozens of people every month to talk about these topics. So it doesn't have to be this whole, oh, I need to now spend money and energy on all of this. You can find so many different amazing ways to help yourself.
You could start small, even if there are great books as well, or even online. Oh my God, you find everything on the web. Yeah, and then see where it leads you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let me check. So you help clients build healthy romantic relationships in 5 weeks. At the moment, actually, I find your target group very interesting. High net worth men in their 40s and 50s. So 5 weeks. So can that really work? So what's your system?
Yeah. So before I answer this question, what I'm offering, what I do, and why I do what I do is because I noticed that a lot of men struggle with relationships because they deprioritize relationships. And when they deprioritize relationships, then a lot of other things also fall apart. So because their relationships are not quite working, then they sleep less or worse. they are not as efficient at work, they don't really enjoy their life, they're not fulfilled, they are not healthy, they don't exercise, motivation goes down, and so on and so forth. And then ultimately also it creates a ripple effect, which is a negative ripple effect. Of course, the people they're with also are dissatisfied, because it's always, it's not a one-way street. It always goes hand in hand. Relationships with parents get worse, relationships with kids, with friends, with colleagues, with business partners. It basically is a massive ripple effect. So that is why I decided to work with men specifically, because I see that women, for whatever reason, tend to be more open to ask for help and actually reach out, especially about the topics of relationships. Now, when it comes to men, for them, it's like, it's fine, it's good enough type of thing. But it's like, no, it's not good enough. Like, stop numbing yourself and stop neglecting the importance, because at the end of the day, what I found through a lot of research from Harvard University, from many different studies, is that healthy relationships actually set the tone for whether or not you're going to regret the decisions you made or didn't make by the end of your life. Like, literally, when you're 90 years old and you look back and you're like, shit, I actually screwed up my relationships and I was focused way too much on my work and so on and so forth. So that's kind of the the context of why I work with men and why specifically on relationships. When it comes to the 5 weeks, it's a great question. So it doesn't have to be 5 weeks, but the reason why I chose 5 weeks is because it's absolutely possible. It's just a matter of using and applying the right tools and techniques, which I teach in my programs, in my one-on-one coaching, these men, so that they can apply these tools and techniques on a daily basis. Now, of course, it can also be expanded from 5 weeks to a little bit longer, depending on the person's maybe capacity to apply these, maybe self-awareness, level of self-awareness, maybe the willingness to actually do the work and to actually take that radical responsibility to apply these tools and techniques. But overall, it can be as simple as that. And it really doesn't have to be this long and heavy therapeutical approach to kind of fix your relationships, because there's nothing to fix. It can be as easy as, you know what, I want to be efficient with how I make decisions when it comes to my, in particular, romantic relationships, and I'm going to apply this every single day. So yes, it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lifelong process anyway. You learn and grow and change. Yeah, but it's good to have it compromised and have a goal, like a 5-week goal.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is that of course it's long-term goals, but why it's about 5 weeks is because you are then equipped with everything that you need, and then you can apply it for the rest of your life. Your life never is the same moving forward, because you have everything that you need to change your life for the better. And you can apply it over and over and over and over again. And then one day you realize, oh, wow, I don't have these anxiety issues. I don't have anger management issues. I don't have these conflicts with my wife anymore. I wonder where they disappeared. Well, because you were applying the principles that are fundamental for a healthy relationship with yourself and with other people.
After a while, it's just you, and you live it without even thinking about it.
Precisely.
So do you have a success story? Can be a client, doesn't have to be, that really inspired you?
There are so many. There are so many. And it's been a journey. I've been coaching clients almost 4 years now, and I've worked with so many different personalities and people of different walks of life from different parts of the world, in different age groups, different genders, different occupations, and so on and so forth. But I think one that I keep on talking about and I keep on referring back to is a former Navy SEAL and now a CEO of a company. Somebody that I deeply admire. It's like Designer, interesting. Where is that coming from? I deeply admire for his openness to go within in such a spiritual, deep way that he basically addressed his issues and trauma and PTSD and a lot of different patterns that he has wired in his subconscious mind because of all the traumatic experiences in the war zones. And he has been to so many very, very, very complicated places and war zones and so on, that of course it damaged a lot of his relationships and basically just created a lot of turbulence within himself. And before working with me, he worked with therapists. He has been through different, rituals, and even had like ayahuasca ritual and a lot of different things. He tried a lot of stuff and read a lot of books. But then, because of our work together, within a couple of weeks, he was like, you know what? I finally feel that I have control over my mind. I no longer am the victim of what my mind is telling me, what my thoughts are saying. And I finally feel like I'm free from this tyrant in my head who keeps on punishing me for things I did or things I did wrong, or for all the mistakes I've made, for all the traumatic experiences that I kind of, just left somewhere behind to forget about them and so on. And he just became a completely different man. And he, not only that he improved his relationships, especially with his 16-year-old son, who he was like, you know what, I finally feel like we're friends, and no longer I'm no longer this really authoritative father, but I am now finally really a friend of my son, which is amazing. But also he built a company from the ground up without stressing himself out. He just really enjoys the process of building a company, even though it's extremely challenging, obviously, to build a company. So to me, that's probably the most incredible success story of someone who's from one extreme went to a completely different extreme within a couple of months. And I wish people would take that much responsibility for their own minds and their own emotional stability like this individual did, because that's what makes someone's life really truly worth living, when you take that responsibility and you turn inward, and everything is completely different from then on.
Yeah, good points. And life is not as it is, but as you see it. It can be beautiful, full of opportunities, but it also can be full of challenges and full of drawbacks. So it's really, it's not only, there are a lot of external factors, but it's so much up to you as well.
Absolutely. And well, actually, everything is up to you. And that's the thing, that there's a book written by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. And it's a man who survived concentration camp back in the 40s. And basically, that's exactly what he was saying. When you have the why, meaning when you have a purpose, you can handle any how, meaning any circumstance, which basically means that even if you live in the worst possible conditions, like he did in the concentration camp, you still can choose how to perceive it. You still can choose how you experience that experience. Just as Nelson Mandela, he lived in prison for decades. And what did he do? He turned inward, and he was grateful for the experience in the prison. So we can always choose how we perceive our circumstances, and we can always choose to look into, oh my God, this is miserable, this is terrible. And then basically, according to Viktor Frankl, those who lost faith, those who didn't see the purpose, they died very quickly in the concentration camp. And yet those who had a purpose, for example, Viktor's purpose was to write a research paper and to see his wife again.
Mm.
That was his purpose. And then he survived because his focus was on surviving. His focus was on, I want to see my wife. I want to bring this work into the world so that the world understands that it's up to you how you create your reality.
Yeah, true. Meaning is in life is so important because you have a bigger picture. You not only focus on the now, but long term. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, speaking of meaning and the future, when it comes to you, are you working on a project, an idea right now, or maybe have a dream that you would love to realize one day?
That's a very interesting question because in the past I used to make those kind of plans and, you know, think about far future and come up with a very clear, almost like a path of where I want to head that specific trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, my long-term goal is to be happy at the end of the day. And I don't care how, I don't care where, I don't care with who. I just want to be happy and fulfilled through having positive impact. Mm-hmm. That is my ultimate goal. That is my future vision and mission. And that way, I know that I will help more people and I will basically infect other people with that same desire to live a positive life, to live a life in alignment with who they are. Now, this doesn't mean that it doesn't bring you to some amazing achievements. And sure, there might be some, you know, things like, oh, maybe I will end up married to the love of my life, or maybe I will end up living somewhere even better than where I live right now in Portugal. Mm-hmm. But those are just details. Yeah. What's ultimately important, coming back to the redefining success, is being happy and helping others to be happy as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And having a meaning.
And having a
because
meaning,
you
and
cannot
that's what...
be happy all the time, right? But if you have a meaning, a purpose, so you also see beyond that happiness.
Exactly, and that's what I meant with having an impact. So when you lead by example, and your goal is to feel fulfilled and happy through having a positive impact, then everything is sorted.
Yeah. Beautiful. You have mentioned already so many great points. And maybe there is something specific, so I'll still ask this question. What is your secret to success?
My secret to success is prioritizing feeling good. And that is something that I realized just a couple of weeks ago when a friend of mine asked me, okay, how did you get to where you are? How did you find that emotional stability and alignment? And how did you basically create the life that you have now, meaning amazing relationships and friendships and living in this paradise 5 minutes away from the coast, from amazing beaches and so on and so forth. And I said, you know what? Every single time when I was making decisions, they were driven by the desire to just feel good. So when you prioritize feeling good, for example, I feel like I feel better when I live nearby the ocean. And I don't know, it just charges my essence, my battery. Or I feel like I feel better when I do this thing, like I have that type of job, or I have that hobby, or I actually spend time with those people instead of those people. So when you prioritize how you feel over anything else, then everything else automatically just keeps on bringing you opportunities and keeps on bringing you next level people, keeps on bringing you next level projects and everything that is in alignment with what fits and resonates with your true essence.
Mm-hmm.
So that is my secret to success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for this food for thought and inspiration. Mm-hmm.
My
If
pleasure.
you had the chance to meet your younger self, what would you tell her?
I would tell her to chill the damn out, because because honestly, I mean, it probably might seem and come across as like, oh, she has her shit together and so on, and you know, like that's what I heard a lot from people who are listening to my interviews with other podcast hosts and my YouTube channel and so on. They're like, oh, she really has her shit together. Well, to some extent, yes, but at the same time, you have no idea how stressful it can be to start your own business and not have any savings and live on the edge and live this how to say entrepreneurial lifestyle without having any safety net, without having a rich husband or rich parents and things like that. It can be really, really stressful. So I would say to my younger self to really just chill out and trust. And the thing is that stressing yourself out, it doesn't resolve any issues whatsoever. It never does. It just doesn't work. And I see that over and over and over again with my clients, with myself, with my friends, with anybody who I ever come across like paths with. It just proves itself over and over again. Because when you chill yourself out, when you trust, when you keep the faith, and when you're like, you know what, I'm doing exactly what I'm meant to be doing. And even if there are some undesirable circumstances, those undesirable circumstances are there to teach you something, are there to give you some kind of a new insight, new idea. There's something behind that has a positive connotation to it. It's not all just negative. So when you realize that, when you calm yourself down and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to stress myself out because I know that everything is happening for a reason anyway. And that is when your mind is that much more efficient, productive, creative, excited, inspired, and so on and so forth. So looking back, I definitely stressed myself out way too much. And at the end of the day, life is just too short to waste it on stressing yourself out.
Yeah. Yeah, we forget that. The older people get, the more they think, if I was younger, I would do it differently. I would risk more. I would be braver. So actually, I try to always, when I'm unsure about something, I tell myself, okay, if I was 80 now, I basically talk to my 80-year-old self, and she obviously kicks ass. Yeah, because if you're just before, at the end of your life, you would do anything. You have nothing to lose.
Absolutely.
We actually don't have anything to lose. We just forget it.
Exactly. All of the fears and doubts are just illusions, because that is something that we choose to believe because our ego wants to feel safe. It's like, oh, it's safer to just not do anything. But at the end of the day, no, it's much safer if you actually go for it, because that is when you will do what it takes. And I can tell you from my personal experience, when I quit my job 3.5 years ago now to pursue my coaching business with no savings whatsoever, I was like, you know what? I give myself 12 months to make this happen. And if it doesn't happen, I'm not returning back to the corporate world. It's never going to happen. I know that I will make it work. And if doesn't work, then it's going to be redirection to something else. But I will never return back to where I no longer belong. So when you give yourself no plan B, and you're like, I am going to do what it takes, that is when you create your reality the way you want it to be.
Yeah, that's very inspiring. Thank you.
I'm happy to hear.
So, Ruta, which inspiring woman would you love to see in my video cast one day?
Honestly, there are a few women that I admire. Again, admire, not desire, admire. There are a few women that I admire. So all of them have something in common. And all of them, they're somewhat in fashion. They're somewhat, they're not English native speakers also. They are pretty big by now in their own right, meaning a lot of following, a lot of impact, positive impact. And from my perspective, they're also really authentic and they're sharing the real deal. They're not, just imposing themselves as I'm this perfect woman and I don't have any flaws and I don't have any, doubts and fears. No, I'm a real human being with my fears, with my doubts, and so on. And yet, they're extremely successful. So those three women are Rihanna Maya, and she is an Instagram kind of celebrity with 1.5 million followers by now. And she just talks about, just being real and showing her own imperfections, bodily imperfections, and so on. Carolina Dauer, I think you probably know her, a German blogger. Yeah. Exactly, German blogger. And I feel like she also expresses her own doubts and insecurities as well from time to time, as well as Valeria Lipovetsky. This is a Russian woman who lives now in Miami, I believe, with her husband and 3 boys. And she's probably 32 or 33 years old and has already 3 kids and is extremely successful with her business, family business. And all of these women are just so freaking amazing because of this authenticity, because of being honest, because of showing their real faces. So those are the women that I would love to see one day on your podcast.
They sound really inspiring. Thank you. And thank you so much for your time, Ruta. I really enjoyed it. You, gave so much food for thought, and it's really inspiring to listen to you. You're very authentic.
Thank you. Thank you. You too. You too. I wish you all the best with your podcast. I wish you all the best with everything that you're aiming for, that you have as a mission in your life, searching for a purpose and implementing everything that you're learning also from your guests, from your daily life. And I'm sure that you will achieve amazing things in your life.
Thank you, Ruta. And to you out there, you heard it. Mindset and your relationship to yourself is everything. So I ask you, do you feel successful? Do you accept yourself, love yourself? Do you have inner wealth? So I leave you with this, and thank you for your time. Take care and see you next time. Bye.